All right. The next person I want to recognize is Dillard Collins. He's the Central School principal, and I understand he's been in the school for 35 years. Am I correct?
A little bit longer.
A little bit longer.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you, the community of Hampstead. I've been up here a few times talking to the town about a bunch of things. As you know, I've been working in the principal's office at the Central School for over 20 years and seen a lot of things change. And the board asked me to address the program needs, what's going on at our school. To begin with, I have to step out front and say that we have a tremendous staff. We've got wonderful teachers, paraeducators, people all over that building, secretaries. You've got a wonderful staff. They do a lot of wonderful things. At the same time, all of those talented educators are challenged with a facility that is good, but not great. So it's time to talk about what are those pieces that can help us go from good to great. It is an older building, built in the phases that you've heard said 3 or 4 different times this evening, so I won't go over that detail again. But there are 3 problems that I just want you to walk away with tonight thinking about that we need a solution. The first one is that the design is simply, it does not address student safety. There's a lot of problems there that need to be addressed, and the design that's proposed will address that student safety. We simply do not have enough small learning spaces throughout the building. We have problems that need to be addressed. And the last one is enrollment is growing at the time that we need to shut down those portables. Well, how did we get here? The quick and simple answer is it happened, people shown up, and things have changed over the last 30 years since that school had its last brick laid. Things that have changed are pretty significant. Special education became a law that has actually changed the whole way we deliver education to students. And that's only one of them, but there's an awful lot of support services that go along with that that are very important. The success of students. A simple example, a Central School, in the early 80s, when I showed up in the Hempstead school system as a teacher, we had 1 special education teacher at the Central School. We now have 5 special education teachers, a reading specialist, a math specialist, a venture specialist, multiple therapists, and support services that are part of what we need to do to deliver 21st century education. Continuing on to the 1990s, the town addressed a lot of things that need to happen. You're standing in a beautiful school. This is a wonderful facility here at the Hempstead Middle School. The building was built with a lot of forethought, and it's actually sustained what this community needs. Later in the 90s, we had this big bubble of growth where everybody started moving into town and families got a little bit bigger. We had a lot of kids showing up at the schools, and I was here when we actually decided we had to put more portables around the schools. On September 11, 2001, a lot of things changed for all of us. Our definition of safety changed. Then after that, we had all these tragic incidents that we only need to mention 2 names, Columbine and Sandy Hook. We have to change our schools because of what happened there. A nice little cute one that happened in March of 2005. You guys said, put in public kindergarten. Again, that changed what's going on in our schools. We have more kids showing up. So here's where we are today. The enrollments have started to grow. And I've watched it from my office staff, and I see a trend. Mrs. Lacasse, Mrs. Boland, and I chuckle about this. Another family walks into the office to register a kid, and then we remember, oh yeah, that was a family that was here about 25 years ago. Their kids got older, they moved out of town, they sold the house, and now we have a child or 2, sometimes 3, moving into that same home. There's not new homes, there's just kids moving into available bedroom space. The net result is that, again, we have more kids in the community in our schools. I can give you a couple numbers that are important to remember. We had 429 children at the Central School in October of 2016. I just looked a few minutes ago. We have 476 children enrolled at Central School today. NESDEC is saying we're going to look at 500 students in a couple of years. I think those numbers are very real. The administration, staff, and school board made it a priority as well over the years to keep class size at an optimum level. We looked at all the research, the board set in policies, the families supported it, and we've got gains. We've got great students coming out of our schools, and part of that is all of this work. Here's one problem that's developed. My third grade this year, we started the year off with class sizes that were looking good. Our typical 22, 23 was our top end max where we wanted to be. We've now hit 25 in a couple of the classrooms. We're putting too many kids in those rooms. It will work because, again, those great educators make it work. Next year, I look at the numbers for kindergarten, first grade, and third grade, and I'm concerned that we may have the same problem occurring there. And the other problem that goes along with this is it's not getting another teacher in because the board has always made sure we have enough teachers. It's that we simply do not have an available classroom. The central school has ventilation issues that you've heard speaking to this earlier, but I can tell you at least 10 classrooms at the central school that have constant heat, cold, or ventilation issues, and they interrupt learning. Most of those classrooms are in the 1960s wing, which is going to get a nice new wraparound. To keep up with special education and remedial services, we've repurposed a few classrooms over the years, and even the small spaces. As an example, we have a special education teaching space in the back of the library. I have to share a short note from one of the students. She talked to me the other day. She stopped me at lunch. Mr. Collins, can I talk to you about where I have to go till I get some support services? So I said, can you just please write it down? And she wrote me, can we please change the learning center to somewhere else? Because whenever the kids come to the library, it is very noisy, and I would appreciate it. Kids are speaking. There are closets that are now instructional spaces. This is not only a substandard instructional space, but that leaves us with less storage. We're not providing optimum instructional space for occupational and speech therapy services. It's common to see OT working with a child in the hallway. We have 2 speech pathologists that work with students in their office. And we've got kids on one side of the office getting therapy and kids on the other side of the office getting therapy. That's not optimum. The school board and the administration have been working on a process to close those portables for the students. We closed some of them last year. We're closing more this year. The first and most obvious problem is that those buildings are at their end of life. They are structures that we constantly need to work to maintain. And you saw earlier, they're costing you more money to heat. The most important reason is that we can no longer accept the compromises of student health and safety. Student health is compromised because of those extra trips in and out of the building, in and out of the portable. Student safety in a detached building is simply not as safe as the rest of the school building. And I want to go on the record to say that I'm in 100% agreement with the board to say that this practice must come to an end. The safety of the entrance at the central school is a problem waiting to happen. We have many cameras and automated locks in place, but that's not enough. As an example, the access to the gym and the cafeteria are easy targets for someone with ill intent. Fortunately, Central School has an amazing staff with teachers, paraeducators, and administrators that are going to work to solve these challenges. It's a consensus amongst all of those Central School educators that it's time to find a more permanent solution. This new proposal does that. It relocates the main point of entry. The school will have a more efficient supervision of that point of entry. The second point of entry will also have a similar level of security. If you didn't notice it, that's the library. For some parents, that's the car loop. The educational space design will meet the needs of the students and will significantly improve the academic support services for students. With this design, there are a number of improvements that will purposely take care of student instruction in many ways. And the number of core classrooms will address the class size issues by simply adding a few more classrooms. Please consider the proposal as a means to address the needs of Hampstead children, not just this year, but for many years to come. After 30 years, it's time to repair, renovate, and renew Central School. Thank you.